It is Mike Matthews and the longest running self-produced daily podcast in audio form on the planet. It is Mike Matthews with Mike's Daily Podcast is what I'm trying to say. And we talk a little bit about video podcasts and how now that's what they do. They used to be called vlogs, didn't they? Well, I have an optometrist who said to me recently, as you know, I got everything done in December. I got the eye exam, the dentist checkup and cleaning, the doctor yearly exam, health exam. Well, my optometrist said, hey, everybody on YouTube is an expert. He goes, that's what scares me. He says, that's just not true. Anybody can just get up there and say they're an expert and talk about whatever. And he was saying that he saw one of the YouTube channels, some alleged optometrist talking about this and that you can do for your eyes. And he said, that'll make you go blind. Well, I am not an expert, I will freely admit, but I am good at pulling all this information together that you probably don't hear too much day to day. And we serve it up on plates, on metal container, platter, plastic type. We just throw everything in a bag and give it to you is what we do. But you got to come into Café Anyway. Let me get the door for you as we welcome in 2025. Café Anyway. Welcome to Café Anyway.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Episode 2984, 2984, and Mike Matthews. What is this, the
Mike's Daily Podcast?
First podcast of 2025. That's great. That's awesome. What rhymes with 5? How about live? How about strive? How about nosedive? How about hanging out at a CD dive? How about using this Wi-Fi to listen to Mike's Daily Podcast? That's possibly one. Hey, the cat stopped by.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Rocky the cat stopped by. Rocky, Happy New Year to a good 2025.
Mike's
Yes.
Daily
A quarter of
Podcast.
the century is gone. You lived through a quarter of the century, my friend. A quarter of the century. That's the quarter of the century that you just lived through. Congratulations to you. Interesting thing about last year, video podcasts became more popular. And yes, if you didn't notice it, you probably just weren't noticing it until Mike pointed it out to you. Actually, video podcasts became more popular on Spotify. I should finish that sentence. With over a third of their top podcasts being in this format. So you see, Spotify is trying ever so hard to catch up with YouTube. YouTube came up with the brilliant idea, and I say it's brilliant in that it's something I would have never thought of, but it was outside the box. But it was something that YouTube said, hey, we're podcast adjacent. There's all these people that are recording audio. Why don't we entice them? Why don't we just say, hey, turn on a camera? And if you do that, we'll put you on our channels. And maybe you'll get a lot of views. And bing, it turned out people liked watching people talking into microphones, which I find the most boring thing ever, even though I'm doing it right now. I'm videoing myself and putting this on my Facebook page, but whatever. It seems now required to do, required viewing.
And here's today's podcast picture.
The podcast picture is another picture, man. Oh, this is a great picture. And actually, it's when I got the t-shirt that I'm wearing in the video today, but with Facebook Live, I haven't been able to figure out how to do the unreverse. So you're seeing the reverse image of Armchair Travelers from RVer TV. I've talked about them a lot. My lovely lady friend thought it'd be cute to buy me a shirt, and I got the one with the cats watching the TV. But see, there's something implicitly awful about all of that, and that is, A, we had to pay for this picture, even though I'm giving the guy a plug. I plug his show all the time. But the other thing is, we shouldn't just be sitting on the couch all day, right? In fact, there's another channel I watch called Off the Couch that is about that, getting out and enjoying, in her case, Florida is where she goes. The late, great Basil the Boxer never went to Florida, sadly, but we went all over the Bay Area and actually up to Northern California to Shasta. So see that picture of yours truly, Mike Matthews, opening his Christmas present. What we do is my lovely lady friend and I, it's the greatest thing. It's a gift that she gives to me that we can open up our presents later. We can order the presents around Christmas, tell each other what presents we've ordered online, and then we get them a couple days or weeks later. That's fun, isn't it? And then we throw in like a little goofy gift. I gave her some Phil's coffee, which, dang, that's expensive. For the same amount I've paid for Phil's coffee, I got this huge Starbucks coffee. So, I mean, beans. I'm talking about the beans in the bag, if I wasn't more clear. So we got YouTube that was saying, hey, they had faith in podcasting, but
that's legit.
They had faith more in the video side of it, obviously, because that's what they do. But then they said, wait, since we're Google and we own YouTube, we also own Google Podcasts. Why don't we get rid of Google Podcasts? What? And push everybody into the YouTube Music app. Which is odd because it's not the YouTube podcast app. It's the YouTube Music app. So they were pushing people into that, knowing that overall people like to listen to music. Overall, they're interested in groups and bands and music from when they grew up, whether that be just a few years ago or decades ago. And then the podcasts. So they came up with YouTube Music. They've pushed everybody to YouTube Music in 2024. And Spotify was like, ooh, well, we got to get into the video world because we've only been audio. So let's get into the video world. So they said, hey, get your video on our station. So Spotify may eventually become a YouTube. Rumble is already a YouTube for people on the more...
I can't believe, what the hell is this place anyway?
This place would be Café Anyway, and welcome. It's somewhere in PodCastro Valley, the last place on earth in the land of Ameritopica. You can find this podcast on Rumble, although Rumble was more of a response to rebel against YouTube for deplatforming so many people. To anybody that spoke up about anything that might irritate YouTube's quote-unquote left-leaning audience, which we find now YouTube is just everybody's watching it. Everybody's listening to it, which is probably what YouTube wants, what Google wants. So it is an increase from the previous year. Definitely. 2023 did not see this rise in video podcasts. It includes popular shows like the Joe Rogan Experience. When Joe spoke with Trump, it was videoed and people watched the video on YouTube a crazy amount. And the show Call Her Daddy. YouTube also saw growth as a preferred platform for podcast streaming. Well, it was never a podcast. It wasn't a podcast platform before, and now it is. They've made it so. And here's the thing, everybody. You're listening to a podcast now. And if you are a podcaster, you need to know the term RSS feed.
Anyway.
Café Anyway, RSS feed, because that's what gets your podcast pushed to all the different apps and whatnot, because maybe YouTube will deplatform you. It's happened to me. And you look at me. How controversial am I? As we go outside of Café Anyway, where we bring you Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in PodCastro Valley, the last place on earth in the land of Ameritopica. I'm wearing a t-shirt with cats on it, for gosh sakes. That's how controversial I am. But yes, we have this guy I listen to, this right-wing talk show host that may have run for the governor of California at some point, was just bashing Jimmy Carter. I mean, come on. Like the day after he had passed, he's bashing Jimmy Carter. I'm thinking, okay, I know you're trying to be edgy. I know you're trying to be that guy that's... Oh, I'm ahead of the rest because I'm talking about this. I'm talking about the stuff other people aren't talking about.
Good morning, Mr. Matthews.
Thank you, children. But look at a history book. I know. My mom, I have mentioned this in the past. my mom was not a fan of Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter is probably the president that sent my mom off into the world of being a Republican. And she loved Reagan. And although she couldn't vote, she had a green card, but she did have she did not like any Democrat presidents, as far as I remember. And it all started with Jimmy Carter. Just immediately that made all the rest of them look bad. All the other Democrat presidents. So she loved Reagan. She really loved Trump. But this fella on right-wing radio, and you had even Trump yesterday, or was it Monday? It was one of those days that the day after Jimmy Carter had passed, he said some nice things about him. So I don't get it. Well, did you know California is the most expensive state, one of the most expensive states for living on your own? But it is not the most expensive. Can you guess which one is? New York is where I'd rather stay.
You ready?
Yes, the most amount of people, or the least affordable state for people renting a studio apartment is New York. What's second? Is it California? Nope. It's Hawaii, which makes sense. Hawaii's got, wow. So let's see. The study was used data from the U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis and the National Low Income Housing Coalition. And apparently Hawaii has the people spending money on an apartment spending 33% of their disposable income on rent. So then California is third. Then Georgia is fourth. Massachusetts fifth. Washington sixth. Maryland seventh. Arizona 8th, Florida 9th, and Oregon is 10th. And they didn't go past the top 10. So, as we know, the rent is too dang high in California. But everybody wants to be here. Everybody wants to be in the Bay Area, for gosh sakes. I'm using that expression a lot today. But did you know that even though people are spending all their disposable income on rent, there is a huge... California enjoys...
The wow, that's wild. Files.
A lot of people spending money on gifts here in California. That's wild. The disposable amount of income, this study found that from the Bureau of Economic Analysis, the total amount of disposable income per state in 2023. And this was weighed against the population to calculate the amount of disposable income per capita. And at the number one top was not California, though. It was Connecticut. It had the most disposable income per capita. And let's see, the disposable personal income increased actually in 2022 by $6,980. In second place was Massachusetts. Third was Wyoming. Fourth, Washington. Fifth, New Jersey. Sixth, Colorado. Seventh, New Hampshire. And in eighth...
It's Bison Bentley's. Do you know that?
Hey, this is Bison Bentley. And Mike Matthews has a couple of stories that'll make you want to ask yourself, do you know that?
Do you know that? We're in eighth place with the most disposable income. The eighth most disposable income. New York then is 9th. South Dakota is 10th. But Mississippi was at the bottom of the list. Sorry. Outside of Café Anyway, somewhere in Podcastro Valley, look who's here. Hello, Mike Matthews. It's Chely Shoehart, gift shop supervisor. Yeah, it's great that you're videoing yourself all the time, Mike Matthews. Do you like looking at yourself? No. No, I don't. Hey, people were excited about New Year's Eve. I got sent this... Disco sent this to me. Disco. I thought disco's dead. No, well, something called disco presented Taking Over Dallas New Year's Eve. They counted down to 2025 with the Lights All Night Festival. Okay, so here are some of the bands. I guess these are all big dance DJs. I've heard of Digweed before, John Digweed. And then let's see. So they performed on the 28th of December. Then there was Diplo. I've heard of Diplo.
Do you have any safe spaces?
Safe spaces?
Yes, where people can go to get away from the colonialist mentality. As long as there's a diversity, equity, and inclusion policy, we'll be fine.
That was a safe place for a bunch of people to dance to the LED walls and the mesmerizing lasers and state-of-the-art soundscapes. Wow. They had bass, house, and techno. That's what they did at this thing, this all leading up to New Year's Eve. Did you partake? Did you enjoy? Comment in the comment section below. No, don't even do that. I hate that. Everybody's saying that on all those video podcasts, etc. Look who else is here. Oh, Mike, this is Floyd the Floorman. And this is John Deere, the engineer. Mike, wow, 2025, I hope is a good year for you and all of your listeners. Yes, I hope the audience listening has a wonderful 2025. One thing I keep forgetting to tell you is that around Christmas, my lovely lady friend and I discovered a show. I think this was on BritBox or possibly Acorn, maybe PBS Masterpiece. And it was a show called A Ghost Story.
That's enough. Put down the mic.
No. I think he's like, don't talk about a ghost story. That scares me. No, A Ghost Story for Christmas is what it was. And apparently, this is how odd Great Britain is. In England, they love to have a good ghost story on Christmas, which makes sense. You've got Charles Dickens from England, one of its most famous authors. Can we say that, along with Jane Austen and William Shakespeare and others? So, Dickens wrote A Christmas Carol, which was really a Christmas ghost story, because Scrooge gets visited by Marley's ghost, the three ghosts of Christmas, and all that. Well, this is a ghost story. None of these have anything to do with Christmas, these ghost stories. They're just these crazy, spooky, very little gore, odd things to watch.
Note to self.
And a note to self is, if you watch it, realize that ghosts can kill people. That's what I learned from this. Ghosts can kill. Even though you can't see them and they walk through walls, apparently they can pick up knives and stuff and kill you. That's what I learned. So the show got started in 1970 and it lasted till 78. In 78, they did this episode called The Ice House, which I love the Australian band Ice House, 'cause it's all over you, electric blue. No promises, but if you should call, you'll call. Is that what it is? Anyway, that was a great... Iva Davies, I think was his name. Great band from Australia. Used to listen to them. When I was in college in the 80s, oh my gosh, there were so many Australian bands on the charts. The Church was on there with Under the Milky Way. In Excess. Kylie Minogue got big in the U.S. then. And Ice House. Okay. Anyway, Café Anyway. If you watch it, that Ice House episode is so weird.
Mike Matthews? You not know Mike Matthews.
I am.
Really?
Eminem.
That's right.
We got Eminem.
Oh, not the candy, though. Not the DJ. Not the MC. Not the, what is he? Rapper. Okay. Then apparently that episode, The Ice House, was so bad, it was canceled. It was done. And they didn't make any new... These are just one episode little movies. They're not quite an hour. Until they brought it back in 2005, like the BBC brought back Doctor Who in 2005, because it had been off the air since 96. They did that one movie. And in the late 80s, they had canceled it with Sylvester McCoy. So what happened in 2005 they brought it back, and now it looks better. It's better quality film because they didn't have the grainy. But that's what makes the 1970s one so cool. Is it's this grainy film, and then it's all ghoulish, darkish kind of. It's dark. It's macabre. It's bête noire. It's, I don't know. It's whatever they call it with the shades and everything, making it dark because there's no light. Anyway, Café Anyway, then in 2005, when it got rebooted, it was much more professionally done and enjoyable. Although when you watch it, perhaps you will laugh like these people.
Try to game me. No.
Maybe you don't like my review, but the point is the Department of Alcoholic Beverage Control has indefinitely suspended the license of Shark Bar. What's Shark Bar? Shark Bar, or if you're a pirate, Shark Bar. That is in Moreno Valley. ABC began an investigation into illegal conduct. During the investigation, and they did this starting like over a year ago. During the investigation, undercover agents purchased narcotics from employees and found other violations, which led to ABC filing the accusation. ABC's 6-count accusation includes charges for sales of cocaine, and did they mean? Yeah, Moreno Valley. And let's see. Oh, that's over by Riverside. Oh. Wow, it's further east than Riverside. So you're on the desert, must be. Okay. But all that area is where some of the biggest food franchises started. You've got the Taco Bell, the Del Taco, the McDonald's, everything came out of there. And all anarchy.
Means, but I love it.
Okay, so not only were people getting cocaine there was also cannabis, and then you could have, let's see. Well, anyway, the license got revoked. And they sent me a press release. Thank you, people at the ABC, which is funny. We do have an ABC in the state of California, Alcoholic Beverage Control, which they do as well in the southern states. Some of the states you actually have to purchase your alcohol from the ABC. That's what my mom had to do in Daytona Beach when she wanted her wine, which came from California, which she hated California because it had gone so blue, and she loved Trump so much, and she loved being in a red state in Florida, which it eventually became while she was living there. But she would still buy her wine that was made in California. What a great way to wrap up the podcast. Or maybe I don't know if it's satisfactory, but it's wrapping up anyway. Except for this one little person saying,
Burgermaster.
Excellent. To call me, to tell me what you want to do in 2025 or what you would like to add to the show and maybe add a little more context to something else that I did not have context to. Maybe I was out of context. I'm generally out of left field. Here's the number to call.
Call Mike at the Café Anyway hotline. Area code 510-228-4640.
And with all things having to do with Mike's Daily Podcast, we go to the mainframe and have an A-frame
Mike's Daily Podcast.
telling us what's going on with the website. And have a wonderful 2025. Thank you for listening.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com.
Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com.
See you tomorrow. Bye.